What's up, everybody? This is the Fantasy Goods, and today I'm going to be giving you Week 5 injuries and waiver wire claims, so stay tuned to get these goods. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Goods. I'm Joshua Lipinski-McHale, and today I'm going into Week 5 injuries and waiver wire claims that you need to make as soon as you're done watching this video. But as always, before we begin, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment once you're done watching the video and let me know what you guys think. Let's get right into it. Here we go again, guys. Another lengthy injury report for Week 4 going into Week 5, and we got another season-ending injury. This time it's the tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, O.J. Howard, torn Achilles, done for the year. And it sucks for you O.J. Howard owners because he looked like he was returning to his 2018 form where he had a good year that year. Already this year he had a couple touchdowns, good amount of yardage for tight end, and he's getting more targets than the guy that we thought was going to be the number one tight end in this offense, Rob Gronkowski. But that actually, for me, guys, if he's out there, that's the guy to go and have, especially this week. I mean, I know I had Gronk. I threw my hands up in the air after a couple crappy games from him.
You suck, you jackass.
And I dropped him. So if you could go out on the waivers and get him, obviously he's going to wind up getting O.J. Howard's volume. And then this week, Chris Godwin is already slated to be out with his hamstring injury. So that's more volume to go around. There's also the possibility that Mike Evans misses this week with an ankle injury. But from what I've read, he's closer to playing than not. So I'd still go out and get Gronk, see if he could wind up being the tight end we thought he was originally going to be, or at least what I originally thought he was going to be. But Gronkowski is the pickup if you're an O.J. Howard owner. So let's get into some big names that are closer to coming back than not. I'm going to go right into Michael Thomas, who a lot of you invested a first-round pick, even top 5 pick in getting him. The wide receiver is actually probable to play this week. But again, if he does miss time, the guy to have would be Tre'Quan Smith. Look, he's done a great job of filling that Michael Thomas role and being a poor man's Michael Thomas. I mean, he put up a game of 13.9, I think, and then 21 and change last week. So he's done a pretty good job. I wouldn't mind having him to put in my flex and get some of that Michael Thomas volume that you're missing if he doesn't play. But you might have to take him out of that IR spot this week, guys, because he might play. And then Christian McCaffrey, another big name that's closer to coming back than not. Look, the reports say that he's at least one more week away from playing, but that means that he'll probably be back before the worst case scenario, which was week 8. You'll probably see him back week 6 or 7. But, you know, again, closer to coming back than not. That's good news for you guys. Guys that own Mike Davis, obviously that's the guy to have if you still need that volume. But if you have Mike Davis, I'd try and sell him right now high. You know, give somebody a week with him if they really are desperate for a running back and see what you get for him. Going to guys that were big names that went down this week in week 4. I got to start out. Nick Chubb, done for, I have 3 to 5 weeks. They said several, but they placed him on IR designated for return. So that means that he's going to be out for, you know, several weeks. But the guy to have, you're not going to find, guys. It's Kareem Hunt. He immediately elevates to running back 1 status for me. He was already playing lights out, splitting backfield carries with Nick Chubb. But now he's absolutely going to get more volume, so I see him giving you more points. There's no way about it. He's been playing great football, you know, touchdowns, catching, running, all of it. He looks like he should be starting. But unfortunately, Nick Chubb was there. But now he's gone. So right now, Kareem Hunt's the guy to go get. If you're going to go trade for him, you're going to have to pay a king's ransom because you're probably going to be getting a top 12 running back for sure. Next would be Austin Eckler, out 4 to 6 weeks with a grade 2 hamstring injury. Guys, I think the guy to have here, and I actually had him stashed in a couple of places, was Joshua Kelly, the rookie who's already been getting some early down work over Eckler, and I think he had a couple touchdowns, but unfortunately had a couple fumbles too. But I don't think that's going to really matter. I think he's going to wind up getting majority of the touches over Justin Jackson. Jackson might get some work, but I'm not too worried about it because right now, the next 5 weeks that he's most likely going to start, 4 of those matchups are top 10 matchups for running back. I think he elevates immediately to a running back 2 status. If you could get him, throw him in your flex, that's good money for you. If you lost Eckler, I'd go out and get him and probably throw him into my RB2 spot, and I'd be pretty happy with that. I think he'll be solid. Going on to another big name, Julio Jones aggravated his hamstring injury. Had to leave the game last week. Here we go, guys. Another hamstring injury. We're going to see, like, this is a trend, soft tissue injury. You said before, we didn't really have a preseason. We had shortened preseason camps. you're just going to see these soft tissue injuries, guys. It's just how it's going to go. I mean, the only way you could kind of look maybe moving forward, we have 4 weeks under our belt of games. So now we're going to week 5. So you kind of look like that. Those 4 games were the preseason. Now we're getting to the real season. They're hopefully in game shape, and we see less of this going forward. But you're going to have to deal with this for now. And I mean, the guy to own would obviously be Calvin Ridley, but you're not going to find him on waiver wires. I know he put up a goose egg last week, but Calvin Ridley owners expect big things from him this week because he's going to get a lot of volume. I like, as a waiver wire pickup, if you can go get him, Russell Gage Jr. He's been doing a really good job in the slot, guys, and I really think that he's going to do good moving to the outside and continue being successful. I'd go get him if you could, just to replace some of that Julio volume if you can, or if you need a flex wide receiver, go and get him, because we'll see what he can do, but he's done pretty good in the slot. Now you're going to give him more opportunity. Let's see what he does there. Another hamstring injury, guys. Davante Adams hurt his hamstring, wanted to come back in the game. They told him to sit down because they were kicking the Falcons' ass, and he's got a bye week this week. So he's most likely, they say that he's healthy enough to come back and play this week, but he's got a bye. So Davante Adams owners, you were sitting him this week for a bye anyway. He's most likely going to be back week 6. So good for you. I mean, you really don't lose anything here. I think Davante Adams is fine. Let's just go down a couple more names on this list. I already told you Chris Godwin ruled out already for the early Thursday game. You got Raheem Mostert, who's possible to come back right now. But here's a big one, guys. A.J. Brown is probable for week 5, and he was actually said to be probable for week 4, but unfortunately that COVID-19 situation broke out, and here we are now this week. 2 more Titans players come up positive for COVID, one of them being Corey Davis. He's the latest one to get tested positive. The NFL has done an investigation and found that these guys had broken protocol, and they're talking about serious penalties right now as far as having to forfeit this week. So if you own any Titans player, Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith, A.J. Brown, or Corey Davis. I mean, Corey Davis is out with COVID right now anyway, but any of those Titans players, and even Bills players, they might automatically have to be a win-loss. Like the Bills are automatically going to take a win, and the Titans are automatically going to take a loss, and you're going to get no fantasy value out of these guys this week. So pay attention to this and what comes down from upstairs in the NFL offices, because if they do force Titans to forfeit, you're going to need to come up with a backup plan for these Titans and Bills players. So let's just roll over this last part of the injury report, guys. Let's just talk about something here. The Eagles receiving core are absolutely decimated. Actually, they had one healthy wide receiver, and that was Greg Ward, guys. So some positive news for this Eagles receiving core right now would be that Alshon Jeffrey, who hasn't stepped foot on the field yet, is back practicing right now, which means that he could be back in a week or 2. So if you could go out and get him and stash him on your bench for when he comes back, he's a pretty valuable wide receiver 3 to have, guys. I mean, majority of his games are wide receiver 2 and 1 numbers, and with Goddard being out, majority of these receivers being out for a long amount of time, if he's there and he's the only option, I'm comfortable going out and getting him and putting him in my wide receiver 3 flex spot because they need the receiving help there. Let's just scroll down, obviously, bottom of the list right here. Big name, Cam Newton, out with the COVID-19. Here it is, guys. He got the Rona. It's designated that they are out until they come back with 2 negative COVID-19 tests. So we'll see how it works out. It could be a week. It could be 2. He could be back this week, but I don't think he's playing this week. I think he's going to be back possibly next week, if not the week after. So just Cam Newton owners, enjoy the ride. So that does it for my week 5 injuries, guys. I'm going to give you 5 waiver wire claims that you need to make as soon as this video is over, okay? Number 1 on my list is Damian Harris. He's owned in 47% of leagues. Running back for the New England Patriots. Just got cleared of the IR designated for return. He was slated to be the starter at the beginning of this season. He had the most buzz coming out of camp that, he was going to take the job from Sony Michel. He led the team against the Chiefs with 17 carries, and he had 100 yards at 5.8 yards a carry. Guys, that's great numbers for somebody that's just coming out, barely practicing, barely, get any game time play. Come right out and do big things like that, and to have the buzz that he had, I'm hoping that he lives up to the hype. But I like him, and especially with how terrible these backup quarterbacks are, while Cam is out with COVID-19, they're going to want the ball out of their hands, and they're probably going to put it in this guy's and James White. I know I say you can't trust New England backs, but obviously the guys to have is James White, in my opinion, and then I'd give this guy a shot. I think that he has a chance to be really good, even when Cam comes back, because they are a running team, even with Cam behind center. Next, I'm giving you a guy that's owned in 11% of leagues, guys. Tim Patrick, the wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Look, this guy had, 2 pretty good games the last 2 weeks, a touchdown in each game, over 100 yards last week. Dude, he's had big games in the past. I think that this guy, with Cortland Sutton being out, you got Jerry Jeudy on the outside. I think this guy's a pretty decent-sized receiver. He takes the other outside role, and they'll let KJ Hamler learn that slot role because that's what they got the rookie to do. He caught 4 of 4 in week 3 of the targets thrown at him, and 6 of 7 last week. So it looks like he's getting more and more volume, and I think that I'm going to try and follow that volume and see where it goes. So Tim Patrick, go out and get him. Throw him in your flex. See if he gets consistent. I like Tim Patrick. Next is a guy I really like, guys. Justin Herbert. This guy didn't start the season right out the gate. You know, they gave the job to Tyrod, but since he's come in, he's done a pretty solid job, like almost on par with Joe Burrow's. You know, let's go with his first 3 starts were solid with 24.24, 16.70, and 29 points. So that's pretty close to what Joe Burrow had in the last 3 weeks, to be honest with you. It just seems like he plays to his competition. You know, his better games of 24 and 29 were played against Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. So now here we go against Drew Brees. That's another big quarterback name that he's going to have to try and outduel. And the Saints defense is the 5th easiest matchup for quarterbacks. So let's see what happens, guys. I mean, I think that Keenan Allen's a solid option for him. He's been doing good with Hunter Henry. I like this kid. I think that he's got some skill. I think that you're going to want him if you don't have a good quarterback. If you have Aaron Rodgers on a bye, if you have Matthew Stafford on a bye, go out, get this kid, play him against the Saints and see what he does for you. I think you're going to like him. Also, he has easy matchups for the next 6 weeks. Pretty easy. But I like him long term too. If you can keep him on your bench as a backup, go get him. Next one, all right, I'm going to give a shot. I think his name's a little difficult to pronounce, but I'm pretty good with it. Alamide Zacchaeus. He's owned in 2% of leagues. Now, I know I told you to go out and get Russell Gage if he's out there. Obviously, go get Russell Gage over this guy. But this guy took over that slot role when Julio went out, and he got 16.6 points last week. I think 80-something yards. He got targeted 9 times, caught 8 of them. Guy looked pretty good. I'd go and give him a flyer. Go get him while Julio's out for the next week or 2, and then and throw him in your flex. See what happens. But he's a short-term guy. While Julio's out, he's got a little bit of relevance. Finally, I'm going to give you my last one, number 5, Christian Kirk. He's owned in only 34% of leagues. I don't know how, guys. He's the number 2 receiving option there. I know he was hurt a week, but think about it. That week that he was hurt was the week that guy Andy Isabella caught 2 touchdowns. That was Christian Kirk volume right there. So he put up a game of 1 in week 1, which is crappy, 8 in week 2, which isn't something you want, and 10.9 in week 4. Dude, that's not terrible. It looks like he's trending upward. And again, that Andy Isabella 2-touchdown game was Christian Kirk volume because he was out. And he goes against the Jets this week, guys. Need I say more? Go out and get him. Go out and get him right now. They can't throw him all the hop. That's going to be it for what I got for you for waiver wire claims. Go out, get those guys, see what they do for you. That's going to do it for this episode of the Fantasy Goods. So please like, subscribe, leave me a comment. And if you guys have any questions, need any advice for your lineups or who to pick up or who to start over who, get at us on any of our social media accounts at the Fantasy Goods on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And we'll do our best to answer and give you guys the goods. But until next time, this is the Fantasy Goods, and we got the goods.